I strongly believe, so strongly, that this is literally one of the best young adult series ever written.
I think
one of the best series.
Listen, I think it's the GOAT for dystopian.
The GOAT.
It is the GOAT.
No one
because
did
if
it like
you
the Hunger Games.
and if you think of everything that kind of came after Divergent, Maze Runner, like it just didn't hit the same way.
It didn't hit this.
Like this was the blueprint that everyone tried to match themselves against, and it just didn't
have
work.
the girlies walking around in a side braid, leather jackets, and mocking J-pins.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Cass.
And you're listening to Two Book Bitches.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We're back. And better than ever. Hello everyone. What have we been up to? What have you been up to?
Not much.
I just found a spider in my Stanley.
That was disgusting.
If anyone saw that on our Instagram, that was traumatizing.
It always ends up in people's like straws. Like, it's not like you're the first person for that to happen to.
No, I know.
I've seen tons of videos of that happening to people.
I've seen so many, and it's actually really funny because since I saw that video, every time I drink from my Stanley, after, like, a while, like, it's been sitting, I always, like, unscrew the top so I can look through the entire straw. So what I think I'm going to do...
I think you need a stopper.
I think I'm going to get one of those, like, little stoppers to put on top of it so that nothing crawls in it because I am petrified, personally. That was a very traumatic experience for me.
Now that you've seen it, you're always going to be thinking about it.
I know, and what if it was deeper in the straw?
Yeah, you could have started slurping, and you would have gotten a little impact of protein there on the way down. A little punch, like a little tapioca. A little tapioca ball in your water.
I actually think I would have had to take a day off. Like, I would have sent you home.
That would have ruined, like, the week.
No, I would have sent you home. I would have been like, you know what?
Let's cancel today.
We're not filming today.
Let's go to bed and retry tomorrow.
We're gonna try again tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe.
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Any news? What's been going on?
I mean, you know what we still haven't heard about yet?
What?
Like, we still haven't heard when the next season of Bridgerton's gonna come out.
That's really grinding my gears.
And that is, like, I don't know what they're waiting for anymore because the strike is over. Both the writers and the actors' strikes, which is, like, thank God. I'm so happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's
getting a lot of content now really fast.
Yes.
Like, all these, like, trailers that are coming out, I cannot fucking keep up. I feel like there's a movie announcement, like, every day.
So, the strikes are over. They have finished filming.
Yes.
So, I don't know what they're waiting for.
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
Like, what's left? I did hear, though, that immediately after the strike ended, that new rom-com with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell, she was sent back to reshoot some scenes.
I did hear that, too. I think, like, was it because of, like, testing audiences, maybe?
I think I heard the rumor that the movie is not good, and that because of the poor reception from the initial trailer...
Well, they re-released the trailer, in fact.
Yeah, because of the poor reception, they were like, oh shit, we have to, like, re-film some scenes. Because people keep saying that they just don't believe the chemistry on screen between Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell.
Here's my problem with the first trailer. So I know this movie is a rom-com. When I watched the trailer, I didn't get rom-com vibes. I got, like, weird, like, they put, like, weird music in it. I just didn't understand, like, I want to know, like, what the rom-com part is. Like, what's the trope? I need to know the trope.
It's an enemies to lovers, kind of.
No, but it's also, like, fake dating. That's the main trope.
Well, yeah, that is the main trope. But that is like...
But I didn't get that in the first trailer.
But the first trailer wasn't really a trailer. It was, like, a teaser.
I know, but they needed
to... They released a full trailer, and now it makes sense.
They needed to do a better job with that.
But I just kept hearing that people don't believe their chemistry.
I think that the issue with rom-coms is, like, just lean in to the romantic comedy. Don't try so hard. Like,
well, I think
it's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be sweet. Like, lean into that.
I think a lot of times they try really hard to not be corny and cheesy, but sometimes you have to be corny and cheesy.
That's the fucking point of a rom-com. I want the corn. I want the cheese. Like,
yeah,
let it be corny and cheesy. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that. So I liked the second trailer way more than I liked the first one, and honestly, I'm still gonna watch the movie. Like, I don't give a shit.
I'll probably watch it. Oh, not probably. I will watch it.
Yeah,
I'm a sucker
I love
for any kind of rom-com, really.
I just think, like, we just have to lean into the rom-com. Like, if you're gonna make a rom-com, like, make a rom-com, babe. Like, it's fine.
Well, to be fair, I don't think we've had, like, a very... Like, I don't think there has been a good, like, rom-com movie in such a long time. Like, I think that rom-coms from like the 90s and the early 2000s, like elite. nothing's hit since those kinds of rom-coms.
Literally elite. But they leaned in to the corniness of it. You watched it and you were like, this is so fucking corny. But you had it like a big smile on your face. Like you were like giggling and like kicking your feet. Like it was so good.
So I think that, I don't know, we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. But in other news, like I guess Netflix world, they canceled Shadow and Bone and the Six of Crows spinoff, which I think is very upsetting. And it just reinforces the notion that nothing should be touched by Netflix.
I think Netflix is the place where series go to die.
100%. Most shows at Netflix get canceled after 2 seasons. Like that.
I don't like
that.
Like
if you make it past 2 seasons, like you're considered a lucky show at Netflix, I think.
I just think, honestly, I was like kind of upset about this because like despite the fact that like Shadow and Bone, Six of Crows, like we had our like gripes with the book, like I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the characters.
I mean, I didn't really care for a continuation like a season 3 of Shadow and Bones, but I really wanted the Six of Crows spinoff. Like that's what I wanted.
I really liked the show. I thought that the show was really well done and like the casting was amazing.
I love the cast.
Everyone
They're all so
seemed
good looking.
So passionate about the project, like.
And right now there's like a petition going on to save the show, like
so
hoping that another network will buy them.
I hope so.
I really hope so. But there is a rumor, and I will read the rumor because it really upset me when I read this rumor.
And honestly, it like checks out. Like Kat told me this before we started filming, and I was like, like I was gasping.
So the rumor is that there is a Witcher spinoff that basically has almost identically the same plot as Six of Crows. So the rumor is that like the script that they had written for Six of Crows was basically like stolen or I guess reworked concept. A little bit to be used for this show instead of Six of Crows. So the show is called The Rats. And I mean the like, rats, the crows, I mean,
you know
like,
what it's
really?
giving? It's giving like, hey, did you do the homework last night? Like, yeah, I did. Like, okay, can I have it? Okay, but like, don't make it obvious that I copied you.
Yeah, like,
and
don't copy my answers word for word. Like,
and then
change it a bit.
They're like, oh, okay, like, what's another kind of like small creature that's like considered clever?
Yeah.
But we can't use one with wings. Oh, we'll just use a rat.
Okay, what's worse is this is the short, like, log line, like a little bit of.
Yeah, like the little tagline.
Yeah, for what the spinoff is about. So, okay, listen to this. 6 teenage thieves must rely on their criminal skills as they plan the biggest heist of their careers against the most dangerous crime ring in the kingdom. Like, what?
Like, that is...
Why don't you just call the show Six of Rats?
No, literally. And the casting, it's, like, don't get me wrong, like, the cast looks good, but I feel like it's, like...
It's kind of giving Six of Crows.
It's giving Six of Crows. Like, they have their Kaz, they have their Inej, they have
like,
their,
it looks
Wylan.
like a similar, like, bunch, like, group.
But yeah, it looks like a similar gang. And, like, no discredit to the new actors on, like, The Rat or whatever the fuck it's called. But, like, sorry.
And
like,
apparently, too, like, this spinoff, The Rats, is not based off of...
A Witcher book.
A Witcher book or any, like, Witcher lore. It's just, like, a new plot that they've come up with, which to me makes it even worse. Like, if it was based off a book, then you can at least say, well, like, who wrote the book first?
But they
just had inspiration from each other, like, whatever. But, like, because there's no book that it's based off of, that makes it even more sus to me.
Yeah, it makes it look like you saw this script, the Six of Crows wasn't doing Witcher numbers. Yeah. So it's like, let's just take this plot, which is a good fucking plot, and let's turn it into, like,
right, because
I guess that'll make us money.
I guess the idea is like The Witcher has a broader audience base, whereas Shadow and Bone, the watchers were a lot of the time like people who read the books.
Yeah,
which is still a big fan base.
Yeah,
like,
the fan base was a little more narrow,
but it was a bit more niche, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's very upsetting to me. How it just sounds a little bit too on the nose.
I don't like that, and honestly, if I was Leigh Bardugo, I would be. Like, listen, I know that these days, like, no idea is really original. Like, she's not the first person to come up with, like, a heist. But I would be really...
It's just the wording of it, though. It's like, that is how I would describe Six of Crows.
And I can
like,
imagine...
Like, that little line is how I would describe Six of Crows, really.
Like, 6 teenagers...
6 teenage thieves? Like,
organize a heist against a crime ring.
Yeah.
And here's my thing, too. Like, if I was an author and I poured, like, my heart and soul into this thing that I created, this piece of art, this, like, labor of love, and then I entrusted that to a network optioned my book, my story, and was like, we're gonna bring it to life. First of all, I'd be through the moon, like through the fucking roof, like over the moon ecstatic that like that's going to happen, to see it on screen. But then to have them kind of like low-key take my idea.
And it does seem like she was very involved in the show.
She
was there like on set almost every day.
I can't even imagine how devastated she was when she found out the news that like neither of the series were going to go through.
So sign the petition. Let's get this show saved.
And Netflix?
No, I don't want Netflix to keep it. I want someone else to buy it. Netflix, stay away from anything we love.
Stay the fuck away from the things I love, Netflix. I'm so fucking for real.
Don't buy any book to movie adaptation.
None of it.
Or book to show. I don't want you to touch anything. I don't want
you to keep doing your stupid fucking trashy reality TV shows, and I want you to collect all the shows that are from networks so that I can watch them on demand.
I want Netflix to go back to just being like blockbusters on
it was
on TV.
It used to be like
on a screen.
It used to be like an online repository. Like, did you want to watch like 20 seasons of Grey's Anatomy back to back? Like, no problem. Like, we have it.
Like their original content is really just fallen off the map for me. Like, to the point where I'm like, just leave the original content to the other.
Because at first, the original content, they put a lot of care into it because they weren't doing that much original content. Now I feel like there's so much fucking original content that they're spreading themselves really 100%. Thin. So it's kind of like, fucking pick a lane. Like, be mainly a blockbuster, and like maybe every year put out a couple movies and like a few good TV shows. Like, don't like put out like everything under the fucking sun and then cancel things left, right, and center. Like, I hate that. That's so annoying, especially when I like really like.
Well, a lot of their big like shows that made them a lot of money are ending. Like The Crown, which is one of their big shows.
Yeah.
The last season came out.
Of the first half of the last season.
Yeah. So that show's done. Stranger Things has only one more season, which will probably come out. I don't know, maybe in the next 2 years. Who's to say?
I just think they need to like.
They're gonna finish it.
I know.
I think that they all went back to work. Actually, they're all doing it.
No, I know. I think David Harbour made a joke that they called him like 2 minutes after the strike.
Yeah.
ended.
So that's gonna once that ends, like the Witcher people are gonna stop watching because Henry Cavill left.
I think people will
I'm sorry, I don't want Liam Hemsworth. No.
I think people will watch it initially because they'll be curious about.
I'm not. In solidarity, I'm not. For Henry Cavill, I'm not. For solidarity alone, I'm not going to watch it.
Honestly, you're so right.
Like, you have to for solidarity. So really, other than Bridgerton, what do they have right now? Nothing.
And I will watch Bridgerton.
Oh, I will watch Bridgerton.
I need to see Colin and.
Oh yeah. Again, we're waiting for them to announce that season. But again. Suffice to say, Netflix.
Fuck Netflix.
You've been warned. Stay away.
Fuck Netflix with my whole chest. Anyways.
But.
What are we actually doing today?
Today, we are talking about The Hunger Games and Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes because we just watched the movie this past weekend.
Guys,
Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Okay.
And it was such a good movie.
Spoilers ahead.
Oh, for sure.
We're just going to give it because I'm about to dive head first. Spoilers ahead. If you have not read or watched The Hunger Games or Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, turn back now.
Or don't.
Because we're not your moms and we can't tell you what to do.
So, how do you want to approach this? Do you want to talk about The Hunger Games first and then talk about Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with The Hunger Games.
Let's just talk about The Hunger Games first. I'm so excited. Guys, I was really thinking about this and I feel like I've regressed mentally.
Regressed?
I've regressed to the age I was when The Hunger Games came out. After I watched this movie.
I don't think you have to say you've regressed, though, because I think that it's one of those stories that is still relevant.
You know what? You're so right, because I do have a point about that here.
It's still relevant to me, and I think that it's one of those stories that really just has...
There's no time.
It has stood the test of time. Really. It's still relevant today. I think that you could still read it no matter what age you are.
100%.
Like, it's so good.
I'm like... I mean, and I'll get into it a little bit. I strongly believe, so strongly, that this is literally one of the best young adult series ever written.
I think
one of the best series.
Listen, I think it's the GOAT for dystopian.
The GOAT.
It is the GOAT.
No one
because
like if you
and if you think of everything that kind of came after Divergent, Maze Runner, like it just didn't hit the same way.
It didn't hit this.
Like this was the blueprint that everyone tried to match themselves against, and it just didn't
have
work.
the girlies walking around in a side braid, leather jackets, and Mockingjay pins.
You know what? I'm actually so sad. I used to have a Mockingjay pin, and I lost it.
We should get them again.
I'm so sad. It used to be on one of my like leather jackets.
Yeah, because everyone wanted to be Katniss.
Yeah, in fact, I was Katniss one year for Halloween.
100%.
And I lost it. I'm so sad.
I honestly think, remember when we did that episode we were talking about like our Roman empires? I honestly think that the Hunger Games is like one of my Roman empires.
Oh, I still like watch the movies frequently.
Oh my god.
Like
yes.
it's in the same realm as Twilight. For me, like I have to have like a yearly rewatch. Like I rewatched all of them before we went to go see Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. Oh, so like good. I needed to be in the mood, and it really put me in the mood. And then I watched it, and I was like, I haven't watched this in a while, and I really had forgotten how good it was.
So
I was like, oh my god, these were really well done.
I actually read the books last year. So when I was in Italy.
All of them?
Yes.
Oh, you reread all of them?
I was on my honeymoon.
You reread the entire trilogy?
Correct.
And then the new one?
Correct.
Oh. Good for you.
Thank you.
I haven't read...
We had a lot of, like, beach time,
I haven't read the original series since, like, the first time I read it.
Oh, my God.
All those years ago.
So good.
No, I'm not denying that. I agree with you.
I know, but I'm just, like... I genuinely think that the themes in this book are so relevant to the real world. Like, you could literally assign this book in, like, schools.
Honestly.
I really do think.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like that's a great...
It touches
like,
on...
grade 8.
Yeah, grade like 7, 8 novel. Like it touches on so many themes: family, poverty, war, revolution. I mean, control. Like
for those who have never read or are not familiar with the story, like maybe we do like just this like a little summary, like a very brief one. Like what's it about?
Basically, it is about this place called Panem. It used to be the United States.
It's dystopian America.
It's dystopian America. It's called Panem. Everything is divided into districts. There was this great war, and people were rebelling against the capital. And in retaliation, after the rebellion was crushed, the capital decided to do this thing called the Hunger Games, in which every district, and there are 12, is to give one girl tribute and one boy tribute to the Hunger Games, and they would be put in an arena.
Fight to the death. With only one victor.
And the last person standing would be the victor, and they would get money and like
and they would do this yearly
every single year. So by the time we reach the Hunger Games,
it's like the 74th
because
74th and then so 74th is the first book,
Hunger Games,
and then Catching Fire is the 75th,
right? Because every 25 years they do something called a quarter quill, and they do this like a fancy games, like
they'll add new rules or whatever.
So we meet Katniss, our main character, in the first Hunger Games book, and she is going to be participating in the 74th annual Hunger Games. And basically, this is the story.
Well, she only participates because her sister is picked, and she volunteers as tribute in replacement.
Line, I volunteer as tribute.
So her sister, who's only like 12,
she's like a baby,
crazy,
like a literal
doesn't have
child.
To go. So she
and it's only children that get.
Yeah, I think it's between 12 and 18.
12 and 18. So you're like, it's literal children fighting to the
which
death.
Is crazy.
And basically this story follows Katniss as she goes through the Hunger Games and subsequently becomes essentially the symbol of a revolution.
Because the first two are the Hunger Games, like Hunger Games and Catching Fire is when you see the actual the games. And then Mockingjay is about, which is the third book, which is just about the revolution.
Revolution, yeah. So you see
and then they crush the Capitol and they win.
But I love the ending of the Hunger Games because, okay, again, like, spoiler if you haven't read, essentially, like, the leader of this revolution, woman, she, like, at the end of the book, you think that, or at the end of the series, you think that Katniss is going to kill President Snow, who is
I did love this part.
The leader of the Capitol. He's the big bad in this, right? Or he's the face of the big bad, really.
Yeah.
Because it's more, it's deep societal issues, really, that's the big bad. So she's supposed to execute Snow, and instead she turns her arrow and she shoots Coin. And who
was leader of the rebellion.
And this is just such a fabulous ending because Katniss recognizes, like,
there are two sides of the same coin.
That's Snow and
Someone
Coin.
said that to me. That's why she was named that. And I was like,
I know, I love that.
I was like, I don't know if that's true, but I love it.
I think there is because there's very deep symbolism into a lot of the names in the book.
Well, yes, that's true.
Lots and lots of deep symbolism. So I think that actually probably is
Snow and right. Snow and Coin are the two sides of the same coin.
She sees the same qualities in Coin that she saw in Snow.
Especially because in Mockingjay, she like basically suggests that they have a symbolic Hunger Games with the children of the Capitol as like retribution to quench the thirst for blood. And I'm like, are you nuts?
And it's kind of like, when the fuck does the cycle stop? Yeah. Like, when do we say enough is enough?
Because that one game is going to lead to it becoming annually.
Another
like,
game,
for all you
another
know.
game,
like,
another game. And then all of a sudden you just have the same
you're just repeating the cycle.
Bullshit fucking wheel that you cannot get off of. So honestly, an excellent book. I highly encourage, if you have never read it, if you have never watched the movies, do yourself the favor. Honestly, do both. Like, I literally will stand on this soapbox all day. Like,
read the books, watch the movies.
Read the books, watch the movies. The subject matter is so incredibly relevant. It's astonishing.
I think too, like, in terms of like book to movie adaptation, it really was amazing. Yeah. Like, probably one of, and you know what? I always say this, like, we have not had such a quality like movie or book to movie adaptation since The Hunger Games. I think it was one of the last like real big ones. Because ever since The Hunger Games, because technically Twilight and Harry Potter's was ended before The Hunger Games trilogy ended. It was
pre-Hunger Games trilogy.
So after The Hunger Games, we had what? We had, they tried with the Divergent one, did not work. In fact, they didn't even finish it. No. Maze Runner, they tried, didn't even finish it.
Didn't do that well.
And then ever since those, like, a lot of these like series were put to, I don't know, I would say shows, and they did not do well. They like Shadowhunters is like one of the biggest ones I always talk about. Yeah. Like, even that movie didn't do well.
No, it didn't.
And then the show didn't do well either.
It just goes to show you have to be able to appeal to a broad audience. And I feel like The Hunger Games is so unique in that sense that it is young adult, but it really does appeal to a broad audience, in my opinion. And even though there are differences between the books and the movies, I think the choices were
well done, very thought out.
Well done.
And also Suzanne Collins has had such a big hand in the adaptations. Like, she just didn't. She had, and I think that's such an important thing. Like, your authors need to be heavily involved in the adaptations, Agreed. And it really shows.
I also think that Suzanne Collins does have experience writing for TV. I believe she participated in writing like children's TV shows and stuff. So I think she was aware of the process to a degree, which clearly,
like, even the casting, I think, was
excellent,
pretty perfect.
Oh, I no notes. One of the things I will say, and I feel like if you've been like an OG fan of the podcast and you've listened, you know how me personally I used to feel when I was younger with the Hunger Games.
Well, with the whole team Peeta versus Gale.
Yeah, because so in the book and the movie, again, if you haven't watched, there is a little bit of a love triangle between Katniss,
which is still my least favorite trope, but
yeah, Kat hates it. I dig that shit. So Katniss, the main character, is in a love triangle with Gale, who is her childhood best friend, and Peeta, who is this boy that lives in her town. He's the son of a baker, and he actually gets reaped, so called to the Hunger Games the same year she does, and they end up obviously.
They both win the 75th Hunger Games, or 74th Hunger Games, because on a technicality, because they're like, because of this love story, they're like, oh, two people can win if they're from the same district. And because at the beginning Peeta has all this riz and basically says, well, I'm in love with Katniss.
Oh, it was amazing.
And everyone was like, oh my god, the romance of the century. Yeah. Even though, like, for her, she was pretending, but for him, he wasn't.
He was real. He was
so they were like, okay, let's let them win together.
So the ending of the series, when I was younger, first of all, I was Team Gale, flat out. I'm just going to admit it. You can shame me for it. Actually, I encourage you to shame me for it. Please. Yes,
because honestly, now on TikTok.
Do you feel vindicated? You should.
I do. I really do. You really should. Because when we first met, you were so pro Team Gale. I was so Team Gale. And now there's all this like negative anti-Gale like TikTok videos, and it really just makes me feel better.
I think that maturing is realizing that Peeta was the right choice. I also, when I was younger, I never understood the ending, because in the end of the book and the series and the movies, you see Katniss, who gets together with Peeta, and she settles down for a life in District 12, and she has kids, and she's living this like very traditional life. And I remember reading this at the end of the book as a teenager especially, and I was so riled up about this series, and I was like, why the fuck would this like woman who like, you know, went through so much and like whatever, like how could she ever want to like settle down and have kids? Like, I didn't see that.
To be fair, and to like to that point, like I think that even in the books, like the romance was very much a subplot. Like, while these two guys, to me, really both loved her a lot, she never really seemed very invested in either at the time. Yeah. Because, like, girl had priorities. You know what I mean? Like, 100%. She was trying to save the world begrudgingly. Like, she didn't really want to be a symbol of the revolution, but she was forced upon her. So she was like, okay, I'm going to fuck shit up and help win this war in any way that I can, even if it's just being the face of it.
Exactly.
So I think that, like, she never really was that invested in the romances, and I think that came across in the book. Like, she 100%. Didn't seem very in. Like, she obviously cared a lot for the people that she loved. Like, she cared a lot for them. Like, she did. But it wasn't a main priority for her. She wasn't trying to, like... Fall in love right now.
And you know what? And I think that's why now, as I got older, I really appreciate the endings of the book. Because I think that when she was younger, she couldn't fathom a life that was stable and calm and
in fact, even
peaceful
she even says, I never want to have kids.
Exactly. She couldn't fathom this life where she was allowed to be a kid and fall in love and have a first kiss and, you know, entertain the idea of flirting or have children or get married. So, and as a child, I didn't understand that. And now as an adult, I'm looking at this from the lens of, like, she just rose to the occasion in an impossible situation, but really all she wanted to do was to live a life with her family and protect her family. And now that the world is calmer and that the storm has passed, she feels comfortable enough to do that. And I think that's such, like, a beautiful thing. That's, like, the ultimate confirmation that she feels like the world is safe enough to, like, go ahead with this next stage of her life that she couldn't even imagine for herself. So, like, again, as a kid, I didn't get that. I think as an adult now, like, that hits a little more.
And I think Peeta was the person to give that to her. Like,
he was her comfort.
Yeah, like, that was her safe space. I think that, like, while Gale, I still think he didn't, like, he was he was a good person, like, and obviously, like, maybe, like, he did love her. I'm not going to say that he
did love her.
But I just think that not only were they two alike, they were both, like, very strong-willed.
Yes.
He also, to a certain extent, had an ambition for, you know, power, if you will. Like, he wanted to be, like, a captain of a guard. Like, he had ambition in that sense. Whereas she really wanted to have nothing to do with that. Like, she's like, once I'm done this war, I really don't want anything to do with more war.
Yeah, and neither did Peeta. Peeta didn't want that either.
Yeah, they wanted more of a calm life. And I think that that's why they were able to be together. And that's why they made 100%. More sense. Like, he was peace. He was the calm to her storm.
100%.
Whereas Gale was just going to add, like, fuel to the fire.
Gale, right? He's constantly, like, blowing, essentially. Like, he'll never calm down. Like, she needed someone to be her rock and her peace.
Like, Gale to me is like the restless kind. Like, he always needs to be like in the mix of things.
And then one of the reasons why that worked so well for them as children was because they leaned on each other a lot to help each other's families. Like, they would hunt together, they would you know, do all this stuff together. So I think it's also a little bit of a case of, like, childhood friend who, like, you know, all of a sudden you're an adult.
You grow apart.
Yeah, you have all these feelings, but then, you know, you're growing apart. So I think, I don't know, I think the movies are great. The casting is, like, stunning.
Oh,
I just...
Like, they were all such phenomenal actors, too. Like, there was not one bad actor in that.
No. Oh, my God. The cast is, like, truly amazing. Jennifer Lawrence. And I love that Jennifer Lawrence has for the series.
See, that's my thing, too.
She speaks very fondly about the series.
I hate? Listen, I really do hate when, like, big actors who got their, like, you know,
who got famous
because of a series like this, or maybe, you know, something that might not have been the best quality, and then they always shit on it afterwards. And I hate that. I feel like you should still, while you can say, like, you know, that was flawed, but it still helped me get where I am today, instead of just being so, like, angry or, like, hateful towards what helped you be where you are. You know? I always hate when actors do that.
Like, I think, for example, the Harry Potter cast, I think, has a lot of love for Harry Potter. I think Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson have a lot of love for, like, for example, though, like, Robert Pattinson constantly shits on Twilight.
And I hate it. And I'm like, but you are where you are because of it.
No, yeah, truly. Like, it wasn't Harry Potter that
like I get maybe, you know,
it is fun. Like, it's funny because you look at it and you laugh, but then, like, thinking about it, you're
I mean, to be honest, I think those movies are good. Like, I love Twilight. Like, I get maybe they weren't, like, some like
Oscar worthy
phenomenon, but, like,
pieces.
I still think that they were amazing for what they are.
Agreed.
And so you should love it.
Yeah.
But you know who else just recently did something like that?
Jacob Elordi.
I was just about to say him.
Jacob Elordi.
Like with the kissing booth.
Yeah.
And it's like, but he was so mean about it too, apparently.
He was very aggressive. And you know what
And I was like, calm down, sir.
And you know what pisses me off about that? I'm going to get... People were shitting on Rachel Zegler. That's her name, right?
Yeah,
Zegler is how you pronounce her last name.
Yeah.
People were shitting on Rachel Zegler when she had made that offhanded comment that, like, she needed a paycheck and that's why she did a movie.
Yeah.
And they were so mean about it. And then meanwhile, this guy says the same fucking thing. And all I see online is, like, refreshing honesty. And I'm like,
I think he's getting hate now too, though, for saying how much he hated the kitchen.
I just don't like the double standard.
Because I just think it's not necessary for you to be mean about like a past project
like,
of
you
yours.
Can be honest.
You can say, yeah, you know,
I
like
needed a paycheck. It
like
was fun doing it.
They were fun. I know that they're nothing like not like
nothing thought provoking.
It's nothing Oscar worthy or anything. But like it was still
for
fun to do. Yeah, and I'm grateful that it led me to where I am now.
I met,
like there's just a tactful way of saying it.
And you can like shut down that conversation really fast. There's no way to continue and like kind of like shit on a piece of work that, you know, maybe meant a lot to a lot of people and the cast and the crew.
You can literally say, oh yeah, you know, I think about that experience, you know, really as just an opportunity that helped me get where I am today.
Yeah.
End it. And then you move on. But you don't have to be like, oh, those were such shitty movies, like
blah blah blah.
Hated it. I hated filming those movies. I hated every movie, every minute I was there. It's like, relax,
dude. Like you're fine. Like don't worry about it. Like you made it out alive. Yeah. Like you're okay. I know.
Unless you were treated badly.
That's a different story.
That's a different story.
If you're shit on.
Yeah. Like if the conditions for which you were working were terrible, like.
You should shit on the movie.
Yeah, that's a different situation.
You should shit on the
but like if that wasn't the case and you're just shitting on it because like
you didn't like it.
Those movies weren't going to get you an Oscar, but the movie you're in today will, like then
no.
Calm down.
Exactly. Also with the Hunger Games, I would literally pay so much money for Suzanne Collins to continue writing more Hunger Games books of like the different games.
Well,
wait, actually, don't get me excited.
No, I'm not going to get you excited, but there is a comment that, like, the director, Francis Lawrence...
Yeah, because he directed all of them. Even the prequel, right? Or no?
He did Ballads of Songs and Snakes, and I think that I think he was involved in every Hunger Games movie. Yeah. I don't know if he was the director in all of them, but he was involved in all of them, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
He literally said that he would adapt any Hunger Games movie that Suzanne wrote, but she has to write it. He's like, I'm not going to write a script or get someone else to write the script just because we can.
Like, you know? Suzanne has to.
He's like, I'm not gonna. I know people would love to see Haymitch's or Finnick's game, which is true. I would love Haymitch.
So Haymitch
is a cool year too because it was a quarter quill because he won the 25th. Oh, 40.
No, 50th.
The 50th, and
it was the double tribute year.
It was the double tribute, so it was 48 tributes
instead of 24.
So he beat 47. Like he killed. Well, he didn't.
Well, he didn't
kill all of them, but like he had to beat out 47 people.
Haymitch, for people who haven't watched the series, is essentially the only living winner of the Hunger Games from District 12. So he's Katniss and Peeta's mentor.
Yeah.
And who's he played by again?
Woody Harrelson.
And
I love Woody Harrelson.
He's excellent in the role of Haymitch.
Right, and also a lot of people love like Finnick and would love to see that season as well.
Finnick and Annie and
their love story, because I feel like that would be more of a love story than like even Katniss and Peeta.
And Finnick is played by Sam Claflin,
which we love.
I mean, who you know is like.
But I mean, they'd probably get someone else to play Finnick in like a remake.
I guess
because he's too old now, the actor.
Fuck.
Like you know
that really
it'd have to be when he was younger. Like he won when he was 14. He was the youngest person to ever win the Hunger Games.
Oh yeah, he was a literal baby. Yeah. Okay, yeah, they're gonna have to get someone new.
So anyway, like I was saying, Francis Lawrence literally said, if Suzanne wants to write another book, I will make the movie.
Suzanne, this is literally me begging you. I'm on my hands and knees. I really need you to do that. Because I'm not ready personally. I think the world building, here's the thing. The concept.
Because she really did just write the Hunger Games and then dip.
She did.
Has she written any other books?
I fucking respect. I don't think so. You can look it up, but I don't think so.
Nothing as big as this anyway.
And here's I think too, like this concept seems so absurd, but what the best thing about this is it reminds me a lot of Margaret Atwood's writing, where she writes something so fucking outlandish where you look at it and you're like, this is traumatizing. But it's really just one fucking small step
that's the thing. We're only, but we're
doing.
only a couple steps away from getting there.
Because
like a couple bad decisions later, and we're there.
Like, I'm reading this book, I'm watching these movies, and I constantly have to remind myself as I'm being entertained about what's happening on screen, what I'm seeing on page, and then it's just like I'm reading about children dying.
Yeah,
is really what I'm doing. I'm reading about children having to kill each other to survive this arena type thing that the elites have put them into as punishment for a rebellion because they didn't like the quality of their life. And like that hits me all the time when I'm consuming media from this series, because I'm like, this happens fucking every day around our world, and we're so like like blinders to it. It honestly blows my mind, which is why I think that this is a book series that could easily be studied in school. I will stand on that for sure.
I think so. I don't know like why it wouldn't be.
Yeah, it's, you know why?
And I think it's one of those series too that could get people into reading more, because you know sometimes when you read books at school, they're like the boring ones, and like you can barely make it through the book alive. Like you're like falling asleep just reading it. Whereas this is a series that can really open young readers to the reading world.
100%. I think this is a series that appeals to both boys and girls, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
The main,
because I know a lot of people, like a lot of guys who read this.
Me too.
Story growing up
and liked it
a lot.
And like for like my husband Thomas, like he's not a big reader, but he loves the series. He thinks the series is like super cool.
Like I think this is one of those series that like when we have kids, that they would read.
100%. I think
I would probably tell them
as a classic.
I would tell them to read this,
and I will be in the head of this book as a classics club.
Like, I mean, I'm also going to make my kids read, like, Twilight and Harry Potter, but, like...
here you go.
Read this. It's your time.
It's time.
It's time now.
It is time.
Where it's like those TikToks where it's, like, it's a video of, like, a mom who's, like, they're pretending.
Like, listening.
They'll hear, like, Twilight playing, and they'll, like, oh, gotta go watch with my kid.
Yeah,
I don't know.
100%.
That's like that.
That's going to be me. Anyways... Just an amazing series. I'm back on my like Hunger Games bullshit. I really think that it's wonderful. I encourage everyone to go read it, go watch the original series. Like I could easily talk about this for another like 70 hours. Like,
oh, totally.
The symbolism, the meaning, the thought.
Lots of thought behind it.
The world connections in this book is just absolutely endless. Like I absolutely love it. Like I literally can't stop talking about it. It's amazing. I'm obsessed.
So switching gears just a little, still in the world, still in the Hunger Games world.
Yes.
But now we're going to talk about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is the prequel book, which takes place like
during the 10th games.
The 10th Hunger Games, which I guess is 60-ish years before the first book.
Yeah, because if it's every year. 64 years before.
64.
60-ish.
Yeah, 64 years.
64 years exactly, but essentially like
60 before the events of the first Hunger Games book.
Of the first Hunger Games, correct.
Yeah. And so in this prequel, it actually is basically in the like point of view of President Snow when he was younger, and he was not the president. In fact, in the beginning of the book, he is poor. Like he's in poverty. Yeah. His family's destitute. He still lives in the capital, but compared to everyone else who lives in the capital, he would consider himself poor.
Yeah. So essentially, like, again, a little background story for people who haven't read it or watched it. This is a prequel about Coriolanus Snow and his family, the Snows, who were an affluent family who lived in the capital. However, what happens is, and you don't really see this, and it's not really explained in the movie, but in the book, what they explain is there was a District 13, and that something happens to it in the Hunger Games series, but in this, District 13 was like at the center of the rebellion, and they were originally the district that would manufacture weapons and munitions. And the Snows had stock in this district. They basically like had a lot of money invested in District 13, but when the rebellion shifted, District 13 fell, the Snows lost their money, and District 2 got put in charge of weapons manufacturing and munitions. So now the Snows are socially viewed highly, but financially and economically they are destitute. Like, they're incredibly poor. So,
yes. And District 13 fell, and so did the rebellion.
The capital
won this war.
Honestly, okay.
So he's like a teenager, I guess, when the book starts,
because
right? Like 18,
he's
maybe?
about to go into this whole book. Basically, I think is set in like when he's in his last year of like high school. Is what I'm interpreting it as.
Because he's planning to go to university.
Exactly, he's planning to go to university, and his okay, I guess more backstory. Basically, what happens in this book is it's the 10th Hunger Games, and you're watching essentially the inception of the Hunger Games as we know it. Because prior to this, the Hunger Games were like it was very cut and dry.
It was very much like gladiator style. You'd like, throw everyone in a ring and then
just watch them die,
and it would be over in a couple hours.
There was no pomp and circumstance around it. There was no, the tributes being marched through the Capitol and treating them well. They were treated like animals.
At this point in the book, it's the 10th Hunger Games, but because no one really even cares about them, they're considering canceling the Hunger Games because there's zero viewership. The Capitol doesn't even care to watch. So there is a chance of the Hunger Games being canceled.
So in this novel, you essentially watch, like I said, the inception of the Hunger Games as we know it. You watch the circumstances surrounding how the Hunger Games came to be, and how to be so fantastic.
Yeah, how they put a bit more like showmanship into it and make the tributes parade and the Capitol people want to donate money
and donate and watch
on the actual tributes,
and they have favorites, and it's so fucked up. It is so fucked up because really what causes this shift is the Capitol starts to see the tributes as people, which causes them to care, which causes the games to become worse. Which is so
it's gross, really.
Fucking disgusting, because if you are part of the Capitol and you see these people as people, how could you want them to go through this? How?
No, truly. Like, wouldn't you want them to live? Like, you wouldn't want them to
It's
die.
So crazy.
And then the other thing about the story, too, is what's the character's name who invents the Hunger Games again? What's his name?
Oh, the professor?
Oh, his name eludes me. He's played by Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage in the
great
movie,
acting.
yeah.
But anyways, he invented the Hunger Games, and he regrets it because he says that he made it as a joke, like, because there was an assignment on like what is something so horrible that like the districts would never rebel ever again, kind of thing. So he comes up with this Hunger Games, but then while he was drunk, but then he never means to actually submit it.
But his friend does.
And basically takes half the credit for it. And his friend is President Snow's father.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is kind of fucked up.
It's just like the connections in this prequel is like honestly mind-blowing.
Yeah, so you follow Snow and his like graduating class. They're all trying to win this like plinth money award.
Yes.
And instead of just awarding it to the person with the highest grades, instead they make all of the students, there's like 24 of the students, become like mentors. Basically the first mentors for the tributes. Mm-hmm. And then they're each assigned a different tribute from all the different districts, and basically whoever gets their tribute to be the most loved or even well received, get the most donations, will be the person to win this prize. And so Snow is assigned the female tribute from District 12, who is Lucy Greybeard.
Correct. And District 12 is not a well-off district, so like they're considered like the runts, I guess.
Yeah, so he's basically like afraid he's gonna lose because he's like I got a
dud.
Right. So basically, throughout the movie or book, he's trying to help her win, and it does involve some cheating on his part to help her win.
Yeah.
But I mean, most of the book isn't even really about the Hunger Games.
It's about the after.
Yeah. So like he does end up helping her win. She does win the Hunger Games. And she's a singer, which is important because the movie's called the freaking Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Mm-hmm. And then after the Hunger Games and she wins, she goes back home and he gets found out for cheating, and as punishment he gets sent
to be a peacekeeper.
And he chooses to go to District 12 so that he can hopefully run into Lucy Greybeard again.
And it's kind of like this like love story, but also, especially when you read the book, one of my gripes with the movie, I honestly thought the movie was excellent, first of all.
Oh, it hyped me up so much. I thought the movie was so good.
I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
But one of the things I think that the book does better, and I think this is just the nature of like the type of media that you're consuming.
Monologue, right?
His inner monologue. In the movie, he is made out to be much more normal than in the book. In the book, right off the bat from his inner monologue, you know this guy is fucking batshit. Okay? Like, he is not a good person. He's not a nice person.
Right. Whereas in the movie, you don't get the inner monologue. He's way too good looking.
Can we
So all of a sudden, you're just obsessed with Snow when you shouldn't be. Like, what? No, like, literally, we always talk about this. Like, please stop casting these attractive men to play villains. You're really fucking with me.
People need to stop being cast as villains because I was fighting for my life in that theater.
Like, Tom Blythe, who's the actor of Snow, is
a beautiful man.
Well, he is, but he's the new white boy of the month.
He is.
Like,
he's everyone's favorite white boy.
And honestly, like, he is my new imagination of what Draco Malfoy looks like.
Especially at the end.
Oh, yeah.
When he's wearing the red suit. It's actually a crime that he's this sexy, in my opinion.
100%.
How old is he before I say this?
He's 28, so we're good.
Oh, thank God. Okay. Sorry.
I mean, he's 28 playing like an 18-year-old, but that's fine.
No, it's fine. He's 28. That's fine. I'm allowed to call him attractive. I'm 29 years old.
Yeah, he fits
I just want to make sure that I'm not calling a child sexy. No, he's incredibly attractive. First of all, he's very talented. He did an excellent job.
And it's like basically his breakout role, really.
I hope he has lots and lots of success after this. I truly wish
we have not seen the last of him.
I genuinely hope so. I truly, like I said, I was fighting for my life in that theater. I really was. I was like, I know I'm supposed to hate you, but like I want to kiss your mouth.
Because it's really his villain origin story.
It is. It is his villain
like this man
story.
Was so hurt by the fact that like Lucy Greybeard basically broke up with him. Really. And because of that, he ends up spending the rest of his life killing children. Because he couldn't get over his heartbreak.
I also love there's just so many small it's one of the great things that this prequel does is foreshadow what happens in the Hunger Games. So one of my favorite parts was the fact that his father died in District 12.
Oh yes, that's true.
And Katniss comes from District 12.
It's all like little connections, like the little Katniss jip at there. Well, they kind of just throw her name in there too.
Yeah, it's just so good. I also like
Lucy Greybeard is like picking Katniss.
Yeah, exactly.
Swamp Potato.
Yeah,
who's the other name for it is Swamp Potato.
I know. Can you imagine Katniss being named Swamp Potato?
No.
Like, hey, Swampy.
No. But one thing I do want to talk about,
yes,
which is kind of left field, but this movie made me realize that his name is Coriolanus and not Cornelius.
Oh, I read it as Cornelius in the book.
And truly, no, for me, I'm thinking this is some kind of Mandela effect because I just don't remember it ever being Coriolanus.
But I also
like, what in the Mandela effect is this name?
I also feel like they rarely mention his first name.
I know they really just do. They really just say Snow or President Snow.
And you know what I like about that symbolically? So in the movie, in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, his nickname is Corio. Okay, so he has a cousin that he lives with. He lives with his grandmother and his cousin Tigress, who is played by the very talented Hunter Schafer. I think she did an amazing job.
Well, the whole cast of this,
I know, is absolutely stunning.
This movie was perfectly cast, in my opinion.
So Tigress and a lot of his classmates and a lot of his friends frequently call him Corio, a nickname. Then, as you get to the end of the movie, there's this amazing line delivered by Hunter Schafer as Tigress, and this is after all the events, you know. Snow has done a lot of shitty shit at this point in the book and in the movie, and he comes back and he is all dressed up and they're rich again, and he asks like Tigress, he's like, Tigress, how do I look? And she says,
you look like your father, Corio.
Yeah, you look just like your father, Coriolanus.
Yeah, that's when she finally says his full name.
So he goes from Corio to Coriolanus just to Snow. It's like really, even through the name symbolism, you just see his descent into this person, this awful, evil, conniving, twisted person that he becomes. Because there is a while where you're like, maybe he's going to redeem himself. Maybe he's not the shitty person. Maybe he is going to just run away with Lucy Greybeard and they're going to live a happy life. But, like, obviously that doesn't happen.
No.
So I really do think you miss a lot of his sinister nature from his inner monologues. That's, like, one thing.
Honestly, you know, another thing, too. I really wish, I mean, even in the book and the movie, I wish there was more Tigress.
Fuck yeah.
There really was not
enough
enough
Tigress. There actually was more Tigress in the movie, I think, than in the book.
That's my point. Like, there just wasn't enough Tigress, and I think that, like, I wanted more.
Yeah.
I wanted more about her, really.
I would love something written about Tigress or like a novella because I think she's such an interesting character.
Because the way
she does come up in the...
She does. And the way you finally see her I'm just so curious because you don't really see her ever again mentioned until Mockingjay, the last book. And I would just love to know how she got from, Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes to the way we do meet her in Mockingjay.
She has a lot of body modification done in Mockingjay.
She literally looks like a tiger.
Like a tiger. And I think one of the things was, I believe in the book...
It's not very mentioned.
It's not very mentioned, but I do believe in the book specifically, the Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, you find out, or it's alluded to, that Tigress is selling her body to make ends meet. And I actually think that...
Is that really?
I think it's implied.
I thought that in the book he says that, like, she doesn't do that, even though she could.
I thought she did. Because I thought...
Unless maybe he thinks that she's not doing it, but she actually is.
I think because he's, like, disgusted with the idea of what she's doing.
No, because I'm pretty sure in the beginning of the book he literally says that, like, she doesn't do it even though she could.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong, but for some reason...
It's one or the other. It's maybe he doesn't think she's doing it, but she actually is.
I'm just remembering something about, like...
They do talk about that as an option, but my remembering is that she doesn't do it, but maybe it's she does, but he doesn't know. I forget now.
There's something like that, but I know there's something along with, like, selling her body, and he's very disgusted by that, even though what she's doing, or whether or not she's doing it, we're not 100% sure, is probably what's helping make ends meet at this time, because right now he's fucking useless. He's just, like, going to school. Like, it's not like he's, like, working a
he's
job.
not making any money. Like, they were really relying on that, like...
On Tigress, essentially.
The prize.
Yeah. But, and then I think that maybe if she did engage in the selling of her body in that way, not out of choice, but out of necessity, maybe by the time she gets into Mockingjay, it's just like, any way she could reclaim her body, she did.
Right.
Even if that means...
Well, maybe, I don't remember now, maybe she wasn't at the beginning of the book, but even then when he gets sent off to be a peacekeeper, like, they didn't have any, like...
Yeah, like, what did they do?
Where was the money coming from, right? So maybe at that point she had resorted to it. I don't remember, though. But obviously there are slight differences between the book and the movie.
I do have a list here.
Yeah.
So let's go through the list. We can
go through a couple of them,
Yeah. They're good. I think, so there's some differences that I care about more than others.
Yes,
there's some where I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think the movie overall is still a really good, like, book-to-movie adaptation, regardless of the changes. But there's obviously still a lot of changes made.
So, one of the first ones is Clemencia, who's a classmate in the movie who gets bitten by a snake, I believe.
Yeah. In the book, you do actually learn more about her recovery. Like, she doesn't die. Whereas in the book, in the movie, you never really see her again after she gets bitten by the snake. Yeah, and then
she just, like, poofs
So you're
out.
kind of, like, assuming, like, they almost make it seem like she dies.
Yes, in the movie, I think so.
Because then he's like, oh, is she going to recover? And she just makes a comment, like, the doctor makes
Dr. Gall.
Yeah, she's like, maybe.
Yeah.
So you just kind of assume she dies. Whereas in the movie or the book, you actually do learn about her recovery. Like, she doesn't die.
So you do learn a little bit more about that. She does eventually rejoin her classmates, I think, in the book.
I think so.
I also feel like in the movie, it wasn't super clear that Lucy wrote the Hanging Tree song.
No, I think it is.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think
the purpose of the song is not as clear in the movie. Like, in the book, or in the movie, you do see her writing, singing the song, a little bit of it, not the whole song.
Yeah.
But she sings a part of it when he's going to, like, see her. But I think the whole purpose of the song in the book was, like, she basically wrote it for him to know where to meet her and when. Yeah. That was, I think, the purpose of the song.
Well, the first part of the song...
Hanging Tree at midnight.
Basically. Yeah, and the first part of the song details, though, the events of that man that was hung.
Yes, yeah.
Like, are you coming to the tree? They strung up a man. They say he murdered 3 strange things that happened here. How stranger would it be
if we met at midnight at the hanging tree?
Are you coming to the tree? And then he said something about he told his love to flee because the man who was originally hung was telling his love to, like, run away.
Right, but instead she ends up getting, like, put in jail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think knowing that Lucy wrote that song and then the Hunger Games,
Yeah, and then he hears her singing it and makes it so much more significant.
What a legacy to leave.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. Honestly, it's my favorite. So I don't know if maybe I just interpreted it as not super clear in the movie, because in the book it was very clear.
I think it was still clear that she wrote it. I just think it wasn't as impactful.
I got it. Okay.
In the movie, because she really only sings like a verse of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it could have been way more impactful of a moment to use it in the movie, but it was more of like a little throw in, like a little Easter egg almost, instead of a more impactful moment.
We also spend a lot less time with the covey in the movie. So the covey is like this like a traveling band of musicians basically, and they used to travel all over, but then they got basically like put into District 12 essentially.
Yeah.
So, and they're all named after colors.
Lucy's not a color.
Lucy Gray.
Oh, yeah.
Maud
Ivory.
Maud Ivory.
Yeah.
Billy Tope.
Right. Now that you're saying it, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a thought in my head, but now you've put it there.
Yeah, exactly. So they're all named after colors, and they're this traveling band, and in the books, so we haven't really talked about this yet, but we will. Like, Sejanus, who is this one of Corio's classmates, one of Snow's classmates, and Sejanus is the son of the Plinth family. So there's the father, the mother, and Sejanus is the son. And the Plinth family, their story is incredibly interesting. It does not touch on this in the movie enough in the slightest, and I think this like really gives like more depth to like the sinister nature of Snow. So basically,
well, because what's so crazy is like by the end of it, he basically becomes the heir. Like, Snow becomes the heir to the Plinth fortune, and literally lives with his parents. Sejanus' parents.
So basically what happens is...
And he's the reason why their son was killed.
Exactly.
And that's just awful.
When District 13 falls, District 2 starts to make armory, munitions, and weapons. District 2 is where the Plinth family lived. So they got rich. So it's like the scales tipped, right? Like the Snows fell, the Plinths rose. So the Plinths are a district, but because they got so rich, they moved to the capital. Mm-hmm. But they're still seen, despite all their money, as other because they come from the districts. They're district people. So as Sejanus' parents, the Plinths, Mr. and Mrs. Plinth, really lean into this like wealth to a degree, the mom less so. But the dad's really leaning into this wealth. Sejanus is digging his heels in. He has deep, deep sympathy for the plights of the people in the district. And
he wants an end of the Hunger Games.
And he's very...
Honestly, justice for Sejanus.
No, just honestly, yeah. And throughout the course of the book, you really see how much I think Corio sticks by Sejanus, too, because of his family. Because, like, the mom sends them snacks. Like, when they're both in district... Like, Sejanus ends up going to District 12 to be a peacekeeper with Corio, and that's how he ends up dying. He ends up getting hung.
Yes.
Because
he gets involved in something that maybe he shouldn't have.
And Corio basically like rats him out.
And then Corio rats him
out. So he gets hung, and then after, and no one knows that Corio was the one who ratted him out, so Corio has to pretend like like nothing really happened. And like he, after the fact, like the Plinths basically like adopt Corio, pay for him to go to university. Like they're the reason why he ends up having enough money to in turn become President Snow. Which they don't really
talk about in the movie.
And that's so sinister. Like, so, like he's the reason why Sejanus dies, and he calls Sejanus' mom Ma, which is what Sejanus used to call his mom, and that's the last word that Sejanus ever spoke in the book.
Yeah, before he dies.
And when he dies by hanging in the mocking tree, he calls out Ma one last time, and all the mocking jays start saying Ma, 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 Ma. Yeah. And fucking Snow, piece of shit. Anyways, yeah, so back to the covey. We don't really get to spend a lot of time with them. And I was talking about Sejanus because in the book, Sejanus and Snow spend a lot of time with the coveys in District 12. Like, they go to, like, the lake together, the cabin, whatever. And you see the relationship between Maud Ivory and Lucy Gray, and it mirrors, I personally think, Katniss and Prim.
Right, which you don't really even see. Like, you don't even really know any of their names, really, other than Billy Tope in the movie.
And again, I think that's just another layer where it's kind of like...
there's so many parallels.
So many parallels.
Or the book.
What else? The arena deaths were also different in the movies, I believe.
I mean, I think because of, like, their limited time and really, like, they didn't want to focus a lot on the games in the movie. They really like cut out deaths, or they kind of merged characters, or they switched things around. Like I think isn't it Wovey who drinks the poisoned water? Not Dill.
No, Dill does drink the poison water. I think Wovey accidentally like sniffs the powder or something like that.
Either way, there's certain things that are different.
I think the biggest ones were Wovey and Reaper. Wovey and Reaper both die technically by the hands of Lucy, because Reaper drinks from the pool of water that Lucy poisoned, and I believe that Wovey also gets into the poison. But in the movies, they're both killed by the snakes.
Yes, and Dill is the one that drinks the poison water.
Jill, yeah. And I think the Reaper, I just want to talk about one death specific. The Reaper's death? Reaper's death. I think that personally, like...
You liked the change.
I liked the change. I think it was so incredibly symbolic. So basically, like, the Reaper is like this big guy. Like, he's like this big man. No, not man, child. Because remember, they are children. Is this really big child, and I think people think he has a good chance of winning.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. And there's this one part where basically, like, he's surrounded by like these dead bodies of these kids, essentially, who have died. And in an act of like final rebellion, what he does is he's going around and he's taking the bodies of these kids and he's putting them all center arena, and he's putting them beside each other. And he goes to the wall where one of the flags of Panem is hanging, and he rips down the flag, and there's this beautiful shot in the movie where he's like trailing the flag after him, and I'm like sobbing at this part in the movie, and even thinking about it makes me cry. And he covers the bodies of these kids with like the flag of like the capital in Panem, and it's just like such a sad, like, it makes me so sad. It's such like,
you really are an easy crier.
I really am, especially with stuff like this. Like, it's just such a symbolic thing to do. Like, first of all, giving, like, the dignity to these kids who died in this arena, to cover their bodies so they're not, like, on display for these, like, shitty fucking people to watch on TV. And then, like, also to cover them with, like, the thing that killed them. Because, like, yeah, fine, like, they're dying in the arena by the hands of, like, the other tribute kids. But really, they're dying because of the Capitol. So, and then... in the movie, he doesn't die by poisoning when Dr. Gall, who's like the game maker, releases these like poison snakes. He just sits there on his knees in front of these bodies covered by the flag and lets the snakes just like overtake him. Just like, and I just think like that's just so moving to me. And it made me feel really similar to the way when I felt when I watched Katniss put the flowers around Rue's body.
You know what was one thing that I wish they included in the movie? Like, there's a lot more songs that Lucy Baird wrote.
Yeah.
That they didn't include in the movie. One of them being, like, because you're talking about Rue, the Meadow song that Katniss sings as Rue is dying in her arms.
Yeah.
That was another song written by Lucy Gray Baird.
I really wanted that
And they didn't
song.
include that one. And I feel like they should have thrown that in somewhere.
They should have
found a way to include it.
Because Jennifer Lawrence sings it to Rue. Like,
yeah,
Katniss sings it to
while
Rue in the
she's
movies.
dying in her arms.
And that's also, I think especially in that scene in the Hunger Games is really what I think was the spark to the rebellion.
I think so too, because everyone, and like that's when she does the symbol afterwards.
The symbol to because she's from Rue's from District 3.
District 11? Not the reason why she does that. I think she's District 11.
Because Rue's District 11, so like that's...
This is just the symbol of like...
The district.
No.
What? Really?
No. Don't you remember, even at the... When Katniss volunteers...
Mm-hmm.
For Prim, they do this to her.
No. You're thinking of the scene with the group in the other reapings. No, I think this is specifically a symbol of District 11. I'm almost positive. Which is why she does it to the camera specifically, and District 11 starts to revolt.
Really?
The scene you're thinking of, I believe, is when they're doing...
I'm thinking of the Catching Fire one when they all do it to her afterwards.
Yes, but and then the guy in the crowd who starts it gets shot.
No. That's a different scene. I'm not thinking the same thing. The scene I'm thinking of is when Katniss is picked.
They're doing the tour. Oh, yes. Katniss is picked the second time.
For the 75th Hunger
Mm-hmm.
Games. Everyone in her district does it.
Yeah. So it becomes...
You're thinking of when she's on the Victor's tour. And she goes to District 11 and the old man does it. And then they kill him. Yeah. But I swear, has it really always been like a symbol of District 11?
Can we look it up?
Okay, I need to know.
We're going to look it up because
this is now I feel like I'm warping my memory. I'm just like blurring
so
it all
basically
together.
Kat's saying that she thinks it's just a general symbol of like respect or something, or like a sign of like a general sign of something that all the districts know.
Yes.
I think it's specifically a sign from District 11.
What do I Google? What is that? What is this called?
Like District 11 3-finger salute.
3-finger salute.
Yeah. Oh no, the 3-finger salute is used by District 12 residents when they have to say thanks.
I told you.
Oh, so it's District 12.
I swear to you, in the first Hunger Games, and I'm literally, when we finish recording this,
we're gonna go watch it.
When she volunteers for Prim, because now I'm blurring all the movies and books together, honestly. But I'm pretty sure in my memory of memories, because I've watched these recently, so I'm pretty sure I'm right. But also, whenever I try to go against Cass, I always end up being wrong. So there's a part of me that's doubting myself.
So never doubt yourself, babe. Have blind confidence in yourself.
Anyways, I'm pretty sure that when she volunteers for Prim, the whole district does it.
See, I don't remember them doing it to her for Prim. I remember the first time I saw it was when she was in the meadow with Rue.
But to me, by doing that the first time, then it's less of an understanding of what it means.
Yeah. See, which is why I think because I remember it the first time as Rue, I associate it with a district, like, because Rue is, are we sure Rue
is District 11? I swear to you.
District.
And she's District 11.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay.
See,
she is in District 11. So because I remember the first time I saw it as in the...
It's used by District 12 residents when they're trying to say... District 12 residents when they're trying to say thank you.
Yeah, it's like a... Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I must know if I'm right. I'm literally pulling up Netflix on my phone.
Okay, pull up Netflix on your phone.
I'm just gonna watch I'm just gonna scroll through. Listen.
That's fine. You look
I don't know why... I'm gonna mute it so, like, you can't hear it. But I'm just convinced that the first time we see it is when she volunteers for Prim.
I think the first time we see it is with Rue. Which is why I associate it with the District 11
I'll tell you right
salute.
now.
Let's see.
I'll tell you right now.
All right, she's scrolling. I'm so excited.
I'll tell you right now. I'm gonna be pretty pissed if it's. But you know what? I totally could be wrong. And I am wrong. Wait.
Hold on. Stand by. What is it?
No, I am right.
No, yes. Do they do it? Wait,
yes. Okay, look. See.
Oh shit! This
is the first time we see it.
Oh shit!
Guys, I feel so vindicated. You don't know how happy I am.
Yeah, see, I didn't remember that. I thought it was the first time with Rue.
No, so that's the first time
I gotta rewatch the movies.
That's the first time you see it, and then you do it again with Rue. And then in the second one, the first time you see it in Catching Fire is when they're on the Victor's tour. And the old man does it in District 11.
It becomes a symbol of like...
Right, but it originates in District 12.
Correct. So it becomes a symbol of the rebellion from District 12. Anyways.
I think Katniss does it after Rue dies because in her district, it's a way of saying thank you. So she is saying thank you to Rue almost.
And her district.
For saving her because really Rue like
died in her place. And, yeah.
So anyway, that's just my thought process.
No, that's good. But anyways, I think... Basically, that's why like Reaper's death.
You see how excited I was when I got that right because I'm not really right a lot of times with Cass. So
no, I mean you watched the movies recently,
so it did make me feel a little bit vindicated.
As you should.
I was a little bit too excited. About
No. I think you should be excited.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You should be excited. But yeah, anyways, I think that's why Reaper's like symbolism and death kind of like hit me because it really reminded me of like Rue's death, and I remember watching Rue's death in the movies and literally like bawling my eyes out, like ugly crying.
Yeah.
Because it just seemed so fucking unfair. Not seemed so unfair. It was so unfair.
Any other differences between the books and movies you want to talk about?
Two really quick. Snow never used the drones in the book to kill the tributes.
Right.
That didn't happen. They do mention the drones in the book and how they're just using them, but they're never like co-opted as like weapons. In the book, I don't think. Because in the movie, he like really calls bottles of water for Lucy, which basically like helps get the other tributes away from her in like a moment when she's cornered so she can run. He also like in the book, okay, this actually bothered me in the movie. When I saw it, I was like, he's a dumb bitch. In the movie, he uses a handkerchief that he wiped Lucy's tears with, and he shoves that handkerchief in the snake tank before they take it to the arena so that the snakes know Lucy's smell and they don't kill her. And in the movie, when you see the fucking handkerchief, it has the literal initials of his father, because it was his father's handkerchief, in big fucking like embroidery.
To be honest, this didn't really bother me because
it bothered me so much.
Well, yeah, because you're like, aren't you dumb? Like,
I'm like, are you stupid?
See, for me, it didn't bother me because even when I was reading the book and watching the movie, I didn't think it was something that would be found. Like, I just think that the whole...
You thought that the snake would eat it?
No, I just think that, like, in the arena, like, it would just get mixed with all the rubble and all the snakes, and it would just get lost to the masses. Like, I really didn't think it was something that would be found.
Okay, fair.
So it didn't bother me because I didn't think it was the reason why he would get caught for cheating.
See, the reason why it bothered me was because in the books, they made it pretty apparent and a pretty big deal that he actually never noticed that the initials were on the handkerchief. Because in the book, I think they describe the way the initials are. It's in the same thread, and it's basically threaded into the edge embroidery of the handkerchief. So they're small and not noticeable. So when he shoves the handkerchief in, he does it not realizing that that is going to incriminate him to some degree. Whereas
I feel like that was just a detail that I glossed over.
Yeah. I don't know why that annoyed me in the movie. Like, whereas in the movie, like, when he shoves this thing, you can clearly fucking see the initials. I'm like, he's actually stupid. I was like, You think that he would... I don't know. But anyways, clearly he was, like, pressed for time and he just wanted to save her. The other thing is, I really wish they would have kept in Lucy's line of... And it's said a couple times in the book, but Lucy does say it, and she goes, it's not over until the Mockingjay sings.
Yeah, I do wish they said that they included that line, actually.
Yeah.
Because the Mockingjay is a symbol of the whole revolution at the end of the day.
Yes,
and,
correct.
like, that comes full circle.
Because Katniss becomes the Mockingjay,
yeah, and then she wears a Mockingjay pin, and he's just forced to watch her wear this pin, so even in the Hunger Games, and, like, it just all...
I love it so much.
Trickles together.
Do you think that Snow was in love with Lucy?
Yes.
Really?
I think that he was, and I honestly believe that, like, to a little bit of a certain extent, like, she was a little bit like him.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I don't think she's innocent in any way, shape, or form. Like, I don't think she's a victim. Like...
In what sense?
Like, I even think that even at the beginning when she is in the Hunger Games, she knows what she's doing to the extent, like, she accepts his help and she uses him as almost as much as he uses her. You know what I mean? Like, she knows that if she plays this game right and she flirts with him or whatever, like, because she knows what she's doing, I think, to a certain extent.
100%.
And so I think she's not as much of a victim in that regard. And I even think that at the end of the book, like, I don't know, like, I don't think she had, like, any kind of power ambition and anything like that. So in that regard, they're different. Mm-hmm. But I don't think she's necessarily some, like, victim, really.
I don't think she was as much of a victim to his manipulation as he thought that she was.
That's my point. Like,
I think that she...
But I do think that there is a point in the story when they are in love. I just don't think that they can work because, again, like, what they want out of life are two very different things. Mm-hmm. Like, at the end of the day, he wants power. Like, he wants to be successful. He wants to be rich. He wants power. Whereas that's never her ambition. Yeah. Like, so when the things happen that leads him to run away with her, like, he's doing it begrudgingly because he has no other option.
And not he only turns on her because
he finds a way out. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? So I think he loves her, and I think that if he had to leave, they might have worked, mm-hmm. right? If he was forced to leave and that was his only other option. But because he had options and because he had such a high ambition for power, she stood in the way of that. So he would choose power over love any day. And in fact, even in the book afterwards, he literally says that he will never allow any other woman to make him feel what Lucy made him feel. Like he would rather marry someone not for love. Like he'd rather make sure that he never falls in love again and marry someone who would just be like a figurehead for him, who would be like his first lady kind of thing, as opposed to ever letting himself feel love again.
Yeah. Fair. See, I think like, I don't think they ever really loved each other. I think that they thought that they loved each other.
I mean, that's a different take.
Yeah, like I just think that they were maybe in love with the idea of love, and they thought that they loved each other, and I think it was almost like trauma bonding in a sense.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Because like what they both
what they both went through, and I think that at the point in the ultimate kind of like act in the book and in the movie was when in you know the 11th hour they decide to run away because Sejanus has been hung for treason, and there was a plot point where they had to hide these two guns.
Well, he killed someone.
And
he used his gun.
Snow used a gun to kill someone.
And so the guns need to be hid. And they are, but he doesn't know what happens to them. So there's always like a way that technically if those guns were found, he could be held responsible and he would die. Well. So that's why they run away.
So the guns are a loose end. So they decide to run away. So I think at that point they think that they're in love because neither of them has any other option.
To be honest, but this is my point though. I think though that maybe initially it was love, but like it wasn't strong love. But had they both been away from it and allowed themselves to be removed from the situation that brought them together and just been able to be with each other regardless of everything else, I think maybe it could have developed. And I think maybe that love could have redeemed him had he allowed it. In that case, and it would have been because he wouldn't have even had the option for power because he would have been basically exiled. Yeah. He would have exiled himself. But I don't think that option was even, he didn't even care about it anymore. Once when they went to the cabin, he saw those weapons that were hidden in the cabin. He was like, perfect. If I destroy this proof, I can go back to my normal life. I don't have to run away.
And now Lucy Gray is the only loose end.
Yes.
And she even makes that comment.
Lucy Gray's the loose end. And I think that was her test when she basically says, oh, well, now you can go back to your old life.
Yeah, she was like, what's his reaction?
Because I'm the only person who knows your secret. And like, obviously you can trust me. And then she's like, I'm going to go pick some Katniss while you hide the weapons. Or destroy the proof, whatever.
And I love that line when he's like, but it's still raining. And she goes, well, I'm not made of sugar. And I like it because it's kind of like a little double entendre because it's kind of like sugar would melt in the rain, but also like she's not that sweet girl that you think she is.
I've seen that theory where like people are like, well, that was her test by leaving, and literally had he just gotten rid of the weapons and just gone back in the cabin,
it would have been fine.
She probably would have returned at some point. I've seen that theory. Whereas
I agree.
Whereas when he doesn't see her picking Katniss right by the water where he thinks the Katniss should be, he literally starts, like, paranoia starts to set in, and he goes a little bit crazy.
He starts to spiral.
And then he takes those guns and starts literally chasing after her, trying to find her. And then he sees the scarf, and he gets bit by the snake. And then I have seen a theory that the snake might have been somewhat poisonous and caused him to have hallucinations. So when he thinks he shoots Lucy, he's actually not. She didn't shoot anything.
So the big debate at the end of this, because it is a little bit ambiguous, is what happened to Lucy Gray.
Does she died? Is she not? Obviously, like, I don't really think it's super relevant. But
what do you think happened?
So I'm of the camp that she probably died, because even let's say even if he didn't shoot her and she just vanishes, I think there's like the elements of
what are the chances of survival?
What are the chances of survival, like to live in like a long life out there by yourself? When I don't really necessarily think she had like very great survival skills to begin with. Like, does she know how to make a snare? Does she know how to catch food? Like, I don't know.
I don't think like...
So I think that in the middle of nowhere, chances are she could have just died from the elements. But I mean, there is also the possibility that he did shoot her. But I'm leaning against that because like there was never any blood. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think I actually think it's a cool theory that maybe the snake bite made him hallucinate shooting her.
I don't prescribe to the theory though of like she's Katniss's grandmother, or like she's greasy. What is it, like
someone
greasy Sue or
the
something
person
like
who
that.
gives Katniss the Mockingjay pin at the beginning. Yeah, there's also some people have gone as far as to say that she becomes President Coin, which I think that's taken a little bit too far. So I think she dies, but I don't necessarily think he kills her. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Fair. I think the best part about this is that I honestly don't really think it matters whether or not Lucy lived or died, because like she haunts that man until the day he fucking
like Olivia
dies.
Rodrigo says, you can't catch me now. Like literally, she's always haunted by the memory of Lucy Greybeard. There's always that what if she got away? What if she comes back and one day tells everyone that I killed someone and my power will be stripped away from me immediately? Mm-hmm. Like, he always has that what if in the back of his mind, and then it always haunts him, and then Katniss comes into the picture, and it's literally like, again, Lucy Greybeard is in his face again in a different way.
It's the best thing ever, because it's kind of like he tried to wipe her off the map, like Lucy Greybeard. Like, he was like, she's my last loose end, like I gotta get rid of her. But the thing is, like, her legacy transcends like her physical body and whether or not she's physically there. It lives on in her art, in her music. And I think that when Katniss comes around, he starts to see all these little similarities. And I love that choice that they made where they had Lucy Greybeard bow at the end of her performance at the reaping, and it's the same bow that Katniss did after she shot the pig in the in the Hunger Games movie. Yeah. And obviously that's a choice after the fact, but it's like all these little things where it's like, you see me everywhere. You see me in every face. You see me in every situation. And I think that, like, really, it's Lucy's legacy that causes Snow to go postal over, like, Katniss and everything, because, like, he sees the same qualities in Katniss that were in Lucy, which is, like, this ability to, like, galvanize, like, a group of people against, like, these stacked odds. Like, there's no reason why these two girls should have been as successful as they were, but because they were so magnetic, people rallied around them. So, like, really, like, Lucy Gray is the reason why, like, this revolution even had, like, a leg to stand on, like, later in the series, I think.
Well, I actually really love that line that Rachel Zegler says about the characters, like the parallels between the two characters, between Lucy Greybeard and Katniss, where she's like, you know, what's the line?
Lucy was a performer who was forced to be a fighter. Katniss was a fider who was forced to be a performer. Yeah,
I love that one. I love when she said that in an interview. I was like, that's so on the nose.
And it's just like, it must have been like seeing a fucking ghost.
Yeah, which I love.
I love that. And hearing her sing the song, you know what it reminds me? You know the song, oh my God. You could be, what the fuck is the song by Fleetwood Mac?
Oh.
Silver Springs.
You will never be away from the sound of a woman that loves you.
It's literally like, she will haunt him until his dying fucking day, and she fucking did. And it does not, and you know what I love about it too? The fact that she mainly lived on throughout her music, I think it's just a really beautiful commentary on how important art is in continuing history and legacy and ideas and thoughts. And I just think it's so fucking cool that, like, there's no body, there's no tombstone, there's barely any stories of Lucy Greybeard, but damn well sure you will know her music.
I think she's basically, like, wiped, like, her name is, like, wiped off the planet, because I think there's also, they make a comment in the book where, like, I think Dr. Gall, like, basically destroys, I think, the footage of the 10th Hunger Games, so it's never replayed ever again, because I think sometimes in the Capitol they'll rewatch, you can have access to rewatch Hunger Games if you want.
On their, like, Netflix, I guess.
So, like, this one's destroyed, so they never really talk about this Hunger Games or who the winner was. Like, did they try to erase her, basically, from the face of the earth?
Because then when you get to the Hunger Games, they talk about District 12 as if there's only ever been one winner, which is Haymitch. But that's not true. Yeah. Lucy Greybeard won the 10th Hunger Games. Yeah. They wipe her clean off the map, but you can never fully get rid of her because she lives on in her music and in the art that she, like, left to the world. So I just think, I don't know, man, this series is so fucking good, and it's such, like, poetic justice for him to be, like, brought down by just another girl with, like, a fucking hope, a dream, and a prayer. And, like,
he's brought down by, like, an image of his past life.
I love that. I love when women
like his past mistakes, because he would consider them mistakes, right?
Right.
Like his past mistakes are what brings him down.
As they should.
Yeah.
I love when women haunt awful men.
Truly.
I think that we should do more of that.
I think the last thing I want to say about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is just a little something about like Lucky Flickerman. He was hilarious.
Oh yeah, okay.
He's just an hilarious character. Like the line he literally calls Dill. I don't know if he says, I don't think this is in the book, but like he calls Dill like tuberculosis on legs in the movie.
I know.
And that just sent me. I was like, oh my god.
So Lucky Flickerman is Caesar Flickerman's father.
Like, father?
Yes.
Or grandfather?
Father.
Okay. Really? So Caesar Flickerman is that old?
Yep. Well, because Snow at that point would have been in his 80s. Caesar Flickerman's in his, like, 60s.
I guess. Even Haymitch is a lot older than I think he is.
Yeah.
Like, he's a lot older than, like, Woody Harrelson is, I think.
I think so. Well, because Haymitch won what? The 50th Hunger Games.
The 50th Hunger Games.
He was
probably...
At oldest... No.
Oldest 18.
18. But what's 18 plus 25? Because he...
So 50 something.
What? Hold on. 18 plus 25.
40.
The oldest he could have been is 43.
Wow.
So he's actually younger than I thought he was.
Me too.
If I'm being so fucking
Yeah, I thought he was in his 50s.
Yeah, no. The oldest he could have been is 18 plus 25 essentially.
Yes.
Because he 24, but whatever. Because he helps him 24 years later.
Yeah.
And the youngest he could have been is even younger.
Yes, so he could be in his 30s.
Yeah. Well, he can't have been any younger than Finnick, so he would have been 15 plus 25, which is literally 40 years old.
Okay, so the oldest he could be is 43, and the youngest he could be is 40.
So he was somewhere in that range.
Yeah, okay.
But no, Lucky Flickerman was on it. You know what? His character did an excellent fucking job at highlighting how ridiculous the situation is. Like, you literally
the comments he'd make, he'd be like, if you're going to throw up, can you please throw up off camera?
Because, like, you're watching... kids die, and meanwhile you have this like commentator who's like making all these like funny jokes.
And in between he's like telling you the weather, but in all the districts
and he's like,
and now the weather,
it's so dystopian,
and now back to killing children.
It is so dystopian, but it literally happens in real fucking life.
Or the part in the movie where he's like, you know what, I'm not gonna make that dinner reservations because the Hunger Games hasn't ended yet.
Yeah, he's like, what's the latest we can come in?
Yeah,
and he makes a comment. He goes, we need a high chair. That's Caesar.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
That's why I was like, oh my god, that's his dad. And I think they do confirm it.
Yeah.
And really, like, it also does a good job of foreshadowing, like, Caesar Flickerman's character, because, like we said earlier, at this point in the Hunger Games, like, they're not these, like, fantastical games. They're pretty, like, basic right now. Basic. If things like this can be basic. But, like, by the time we get to Caesar Flickerman's era, where he's, like, whatever with the Hunger Games, you know, it's a spectacle at that point.
Yeah.
It's like interviews, costumes, parades, like betting. It's a whole thing. So either way, I fucking love this series. I could literally spend another hour talking about it. There's so much symbolism in it. So much symbolism, so much to say, so much meaning. It's so relevant. Like, guys, honestly, read it. Like, I really think you
haven't, or go watch the movies if you don't.
Go watch the movies. It's an excellent book. Like, I encourage people to read it, and I really think that as a kid, like, it really inspired me to think more deeply about the world around me. I think not every book has the unique ability to do that, and I think this book really does. So,
and with that, I think we will close the chapter on the Hunger Games and Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes until Suzanne Collins decides to grace us with another Hunger Games universe book, which we will devour.
Eat the fuck up. But what are we doing next week?
So next week we're back with Crescent City.
Yes.
And we're doing chapters 48 to 56.
Sick, guys. We're starting to get to the end.
We're starting to get to the end of that.
Oh my goodness.
And it's getting closer and closer to the release of Crescent City 3.
Guys, I literally can't
wait.
Which
is so exciting.
I'm so excited. As always, all the information is in the description below, no matter where you're watching. You know, if you like to, please consider leaving a comment, a like, a review. We are on YouTube. You should watch us on YouTube. We've gotten a couple of YouTube comments so far being like, oh my god, I didn't know you guys were on YouTube. I always like see. And I'm like, no, guys, like, we're on YouTube. It's so fun, so fresh. But please consider leaving a review or liking or commenting or subscribing or messaging us. We love chatting with you guys so much.
Yeah, so thanks for listening to Two Book Bitches.
Bye.